The truth has been revealed behind the Boston Bruins trade for Casey Mittelstadt in the Charlie Coyle deal, and it's all because of this man right here. We're going to be talking about this trade and breaking down why this trade went down and how the Bruins managed to get such a good deal here in this video. Very quickly before we get into it, though, for those who are new, after we've had quite a few people come to the channel during the NHL trade deadline, we are also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. So as well as hitting the sub button, make sure to go follow both of those accounts wherever you get your podcasts so you can listen to Bruins Digest and get all your Boston Bruins news on the go. But without any further ado, let's get into this video. Now, we're going to start it off here, kind of covering the trade a bit as well. Made a video last night about the whole, big deals for the Bruins, apart from the Brad Marchand deal. There was another video last night, so be sure to check those two out. But looking at this trade for Casey Mittelstadt, Will Zellers, and a second in exchange for Charlie Coyle. The initial reaction to this trade from a lot of people was that this is a very good deal for the Boston Bruins. How are they managed to get all of this for just Charlie Coyle? And we know Charlie Coyle has been a great player. He's a great addition to the Colorado Avalanche, and there's no doubt in my mind that he was an asset that the Avalanche had been looking for quite some time. And now that they have that deal, now that they have those moves made, we had to look at what the Boston Bruins got, because there is one thing in this trade that really stands out from the rest, and it's probably not what you think. Casey Mittelstadt having a down year, but is still pretty good. A centerman that they need in exchange for, a very similar contract to Charlie Coyle. That's good. A second-round pick, that's another great addition on top. But Will Zellers, what seems like nobody is talking about, is the real star behind this trade, and some may be calling him a hidden gem already. A bit too early for that, but I think that there's a great potential to see him at that level. Now, I want to pull up this tweet from Michael Sullivan before we actually jump in to his full stats from Elite Prospects when we're looking at Michael Sullivan's tweet here, and thank you for breaking this down. It makes my job a lot easier to be able to pull this up rather than go and break this all down completely. An 18-year-old, 5'11", 170-pound North Dakota University commit, currently playing with Green Bay in the USHL. But the Green Bay Gamblers is putting up a very good season. 58 points in 40 games, 37 goals, 21 assists, nearly goal per game. But when you go and look at his stats with St. Mary's, 54 games played, 57 goals, and 54 assists for a 111-point total. He's very speedy and offensively driven. This is the type of player the Bruins have been missing out. And from what I've seen so far, and I think this will still take a few days to be able to adjust and make it so we can confirm, Will Zellers has jumped to the #1 prospect in the Boston Bruins organization. Now, granted, it's not very hard because the Bruins prospect organization is not the greatest, but when we're looking at Will Zellers as a top potential prospect, I absolutely see it from looking at the minimal amount of play I've seen from him so far, but I'm going to be looking and diving deeper into this and being able to try and get any footage I can from him, because we know the USHL and kind of going back to St. Mary's, you don't get too much of that video and film, but from what I've seen so far, he is a nasty, nasty player. And looking at some comparisons in the NHL already, my mind immediately went to a guy like Alex DeBrincat, a guy like Cole Caulfield, two players that the Bruins are very familiar with and can really tear up a league. Now, he's not as short as those players, but his stature is a bit bigger. It's not still, he's not a massive player, but he still is around that, weight right now. But of course, he's going to be putting on a lot more muscle as he does progress, and especially when he gets to the University of North Dakota, that's when we're really going to start to see him develop, and I think that's where we're going to really start to see his progression excel. And we've been able to see something along the lines of a player coming from the USHL, going over to college, and it really not working out in our last year's first-round pick, Dean Letourneau. But that is a completely different style of player. He's a 6'8" centerman. Kind of a different situation when you have an offensively driven player here in Will Zellers. And now we look at his elite prospects. When we're going down the list and looking at his projections, looking at what he's done in the past, this is not one thing that we've been able to see, in 1 year. This has been a very consistent thing whenever he's played quite a few games. Starting back from 21-22 with St. Mary's in the U15 AAA, 79 points in 61 games. And you can go down to 2023, the year later, with the prep where he is last year, 49 points in 37 games. The year after, 111 points in 54 games, over a goal per game. And this year, still, projection with the Green Bay Gamblers, 74 points, 52 games played, and 47 goals, just under a goal per game. And it's actually right now tied for second in, not tied, it is second in the USHL for points. Now, the screenshot that you just saw right here is his, rankings from when we were looking at him being drafted in the 2024, or drafted in the 2022 draft to the Green Bay Guns, but the 2024 NHL entry draft, where he was drafted by the Colorado Avalanche in that second round. There was quite a few people who were putting him, not in the biggest range of potential. There was a lot of mismatches here, I guess we can say, from 119th ranked from Elite Prospects, this page that all this source is coming from, to 54th by NHL Central Scouting. So there is a big wide array, and I guess a lot of that, I think, is going to be coming down to the size. We do see a lot of people, companies in specific take a big consideration in the size when they're ranking these types of players, but we've been able to see in recent years that it really does not matter as much as some of these people are making it out to seem. And, as I mentioned, Cole Caulfield and Alex DeBrincat, great examples of that. They've been really playing well lately and are some of, if not the smallest players in the NHL. And I'm curious to see how this is going to change, not these rankings in specific, but how his rankings amongst prospects are going to over the next few seasons because of all of his play and, his goal-scoring capabilities and what we've been seeing from him at the USHL level. And I think we're going to, as I mentioned, we're going to get another good look next season when he does go to North Dakota, and that's when we're really going to have that solidified ranking for the Bruins. And as of right now, I think it's still, going to be a bit up and down for the time being until we get to know him a bit more here in the organization. But with the remainder of this trade, nothing is to be scoffed at for Casey Mittelstadt. And I will pop back to this screenshot here because when we look at Casey Mittelstadt, he immediately pops into our second line center and could argue even he could go in the first. Pavel Zacha has been very solid, especially with Morgan Geekie, David Pastrnak. That's a line that is very tough to change, especially on the wingers, but maybe you try Casey Mittelstadt there. Casey Mittelstadt, according to a few people, not having the greatest season, but when I'm looking at 34 points in 63 games, 17 minutes time on ice for him with Colorado, we know that Colorado team is very good. The plus-minus is not great, but he's having an okay year in my mind. 56.9% Corsi is actually quite good. That's the CF percent there in the bottom right. So he's been playing pretty well defensively. And being locked up at $5.75 million for 3 more years, 26 years old, he's being a very big potential player right now, even though he's reports are saying that, his season is down. He's still not in that bounce back territory. He still is considered to be a bust, but he's been much better as of late than what a lot of people have been kind of making it out to be, especially when he was with the Buffalo Sabres and whatnot before that Bowen Byram trade. But before we finish this one off here, I wanted to pop back to this in an Athletic article, kind of breaking down this trade where they gave the Bruins a B plus, I believe it was, in this deal, and said adding Zellers and a 2025 second rounder helps replenish the Bruins' depleted pipeline. Mittelstadt may be having a down year, but he's in the exact type of reclamation project Boston should be targeting, especially because he addresses one of their biggest weaknesses, the center position. It may not be worked out in Colorado, but there's still potential in the 26-year-old to get back to his playmaking strengths. And, I feel like Casey Mittelstadt for Charlie Coyle would not have even been a bad 1-for-1. When we do look at Charlie Coyle's stats this year, he's been playing not great. But once again, this team has been injured. This team has not been great. This team has really not had any solid lines this season. And being able to put up 22 points in 64 games when you've been on the third line, been on the second line, you've kind of been all over the place, is not horrible, but he is the exact depth, the exact experience, the exact veteran that the Colorado Avalanche were looking for in this trade. And at 33 years old, you're looking at a guy who is coming to this team, or being swapped out of this team for someone who is 7 years younger, a prospect who is 18 years old that is supposed to be a pretty good one. Things are going to be, more fluid when it comes down to this later stretch, and a second-round pick. I feel like all three of these options that the Bruins had gotten in this trade are exactly what they needed to fill these holes, to replenish the prospects, and to get more picks down the line. And I think this is the perfect deal. I think that the Bruins have really made this out to be one of the best deals, if not the best deal in specific here in this offseason. And seeing a lot of people, not really finding that. But I do think that this is going to be one that we see really play out well when it comes down the stretch of the season and over the next few seasons when we do see these younger guys and our picks progress into the future of this Boston Bruins team. So I want to know what you guys think about this deal in specific. I know I spoke about it in last night's video, kind of going over everything that we had in that aspect of things, but now that we're kind of sitting on it, we slept on it a bit, I want to know what you guys think about this deal and about these assets that are coming back to this team. because I'm trying to get everybody on board. I think that this is a great deal, and I want to see what you guys think. So let me know in the comments below. But that's all I got in this video. Once again, I appreciate the support over this trade deadline week. It's been very busy, and yesterday was one of the most insane days of all time on the Bruins Digest channel. So I just want to say thank you once again. I'm like a broken record at this point, but I do appreciate everybody watching this video. But that's all I got in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. A lot more news coming out here over the next week with everybody speaking out about this. Some stuff coming up from the trades. We have a lot of stuff to cover on Don Sweeney, and I will have another video later today, either breaking down the Brandon Carlo trade or going over some Don Sweeney quotes. We have a lot to cover, so be sure to stick around. But that's all I got. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.